Theology, the study, the understanding of God. How could you understand something you haven't seen? However, even when you don't see something, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. That is at least the conviction, the strong conviction of men and women in the Middle Ages. Neoplatonism is one of the words that we hear as something that is a reinterpretation, a rereading of Plato, the great Greek philosopher who was a mentee of Socrates. If you remember, Socrates didn't write anything. His disciple, Plato, was the one who collected the teachings of Socrates through writings that are called dialogues because they are dialogic representations of Socrates talking to different individuals. Plato proposed that our reality, our world, is just a reflection, is a shadow of another world composed by perfect ideas and forms, an ideal world. Have you ever felt a platonic love, for example? That usually means that you love someone without having any physical contact with that person, just because of that person's spirituality or even beauty, but without carnal knowledge. Well, Platonism is more or less the same when applied to the world. Plotinus, the person we see in this statue, was a philosopher of the 3rd century who reinterpreted Plato's writings. And he is considered the founder of Neoplatonism. However, he applied it with other components of different religions in the Middle East and also Christianity, which was expanding in the Mediterranean area at that time. Plotinus gave room to, a couple of centuries later, in the 5th century, to St. Augustine, one of the fathers of the church. St. Augustine, Bishop of Hipona in northern Africa, was witness to the fall of Rome, the capital of the greatest empire in human history, was invaded, sacked, and destroyed by Vandals, barbarians, and other groups from Northern Europe. And St. Augustine asked himself, how could this be? The most powerful human creation, the city of Rome, is no more. There had to be an explanation. So he went to Plotinus, and he went to Plato, and he explained the historical reality with one simple formula. The city of men, based on earthly beliefs, is going to fail because it's lacking the perfection, the excellence of the world of the ideas. So St. Augustine joined pagan philosophy, Plato, the teachings of Plotinus, and the Christian beliefs. And he identified Plato's world of ideas with Christian values, with God himself. A city of men will fail because it's not a representation of the city of God. And the mission of the church should be to build on earth the kingdom of God, a true city of God that is going to be eternal because it's going to be just, it's going to be fair, and the higher ruling class or state of realm will take care of even the most humble of the subjects. The implementation of that city of God on earth was taken as a political task, but also as the performance, the application of profound theological beliefs. Religion and politics were not separated at that time. The division between church and state is a modern concept. In the Middle Ages, men and women thought that the political right was sovereign because of the legitimacy that God gave the monarchs. And after St. Augustine, a few centuries later, when the circulation of the writings of Aristotle, Plato, and other Greek philosophers and Roman thinkers was widespread among the church members, Saint Anselm of Canterbury in England in the 11th century appeared as the founder of scholasticism, which is basically the application of Aristotle's principles. The principle of the fair middle, that the perfect moral conduct is not to be an extremist in any way. The principle that there is a supreme entity that Aristotle called the first engine or the first force that was the cause of all effects and had not a cause in itself. Saint Anselm of Canterbury identified Aristotle's ideas with a pre-Christian elaboration of the idea of God. What Aristotle was lacking, just like Plato, was the knowledge of the Gospels. They couldn't help it because they were born before the birth of Christ. Nonetheless, Aristotle was still being used a couple of centuries later, between 1225 and 1274, the years in which St. Thomas Aquinas lived. And his interpretation of Aristotle was very interesting also, because he applied it again to an explanation of God's existence and the intervention of God in human affairs. This is called Thomism. So we have Plotinus with Neoplatonism, St. Augustine, a continuator of Neoplatonism in the 5th century, St. Anselm of Canterbury, and finally St. Thomas Aquinas, an Italian theologian who had a huge influence in the development of the church and of political ideas in the Renaissance a few centuries later. These four great theologians and philosophers set the ground for the appearance of modern humanism.